Uh, well, let me welcome you both, Professor Babatunde Victor Jatula. It's nice to see your face.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
The semester has been very, very challenging.
Bless God. Now it's over.
God is over.
Thank God.
We can do this very well.
Yes.
And I also want to welcome my very good friend, Kunle Banwo, who has been a partner on this journey since inception. Victor always comes in once in a while, but Kunle has been there all along. And today is going to be a very interesting moment because we want to talk about something that we all observe in our society, not only in the government setting, but just looking at the structure of the society and the way power plays, the dynamism of power, the way people utilize power, the way they command authority, the movement of authority from one person to the other within the framework of the society. I'm sure you will understand what I'm saying is particularly very interesting when you just sit back and just observe how people try to display power in Africa. It's really very amazing. And I want us to have a very interesting conversation around this important topic. Although some of the way our people have been utilizing power could be laughable, or we might try to make fun of it, but come to think of it, this is what determines, sometimes, in most cases, the direction of the society. The way we conceive how to utilize power, if we don't give it a proper direction, then the society can be led in a way that is not supposed to go. So we want to look at that dynamism. We want to look at what is unique about the utilization of this power and authority in Africa and how we can harness it to produce the best result that will be in the best interest of both the led and the leaders as well. So today is going to be a very interesting topic, and I know Jatula is in that space of journalism, of political, always observing and writing a lot of theories about the political game in Africa. And I know he's going to help us a lot in this conversation. So to start, Victor, I want to ask, I know there are many definitions of power, there are many definitions of authority, but looking at the way the West and lately the Asians have utilized power, and then looking at how Africans are also utilizing their own, I want to ask, what exactly is power? What is authority?
Very, very interesting questions, and they're quite broad. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, very interesting question, quite broad as well. I believe you're talking about political power.
Political power.
Yeah, and underneath political power is economic power.
Yeah.
And that also spills into social capital.
Yeah.
Social capital. So I think obviously political power is at the zenith of the power structure. Of course, we can exclude spiritual power, which is another dynamics entirely. So power in a democratic setting is given to a certain group within society based on elections. Outside the democratic framework, power sometimes is hijacked and held down by also a group within society. Now, it doesn't mean that within democratic spaces, people and parties don't hijack power, but they do it with public consent. You know, Noam Chomsky talked about manufactured consent. That is, the ruling class, they deliberately manufacture consent. They do things, and it seems as if the public is acting, but definitely the public is acting according to an unwritten script. So, for example, in many democratic societies, political parties will put forward candidates. Let's say 2 candidates, 3 candidates. So the public is voting, and we think that we have, as the electorate, the power to appoint or to vote in the people we want. However, the elections are based on selections. So we are electing selected people that is either A or B. So we don't have a lot of options. So in both settings, power belongs to those who occupy, very few people within every society, every nation, particular spaces that gives them authority over decisions, political decisions, economic decisions, social decisions, media control, judicial power, legislative power, all of this framework that determine the direction of a society.
So just a follow-up question. Recently, to mark the anniversary of the June 12th presidential election that took place in 1993, the human rights activist Femi Falana made a very profound statement that really got me thinking, and I said I was going to ask you today because according to Femi Falana yesterday, he said there is no democracy in Nigeria. What we have is civil rule, that is civilian administration. He said the struggle for democracy continues. So my question to you now is, because you also made a very similar statement. You said in democracy, power is given. But maybe you will say, maybe in the context of Nigeria, for example, we can say it is more or less manufactured, because it was as if the political elite manufactured that power and then try to impose that consent on the public. So the question I want to ask, because all along, all my life, I'd always thought that civilian government or civilian rule is the same thing as democratic rule. So, but when Femi Falana made statement yesterday, then I started thinking, does it mean that there is a difference between civilian rule and democratic government? So I just want you to help me understand that, and if there are any gray area that needs to be stretched out, to assist me with that.
Interesting question as well. I think they are related. There can never be democracy without civilian rule. But there are civilian rules that are not democratic. Democracy itself as a concept, not just in Africa or Nigeria, but globally, it's a theory. Democracy itself is a theory. And there is no truly democratic nation anywhere in the world.
A theory or an experiment? A theory or an experiment? Which of the two?
It's not just a theory, but also it's in practice. But there's a big distinction between the theory of democracy and the practice of democracy.
Okay.
Yeah. So democracy is like a spectrum. And on that spectrum, there are countries that are very far into it, in its practice. And there are other countries that are very behind. So all of us are on this spectrum, But some nations are closer to being called a democracy than others. And that's the major difference. So if Femi Falana is characterizing Nigeria's system as non-democratic or undemocratic or not truly democratic or not fully democratic, is right.
Maybe it's not fully
description. Because that's why I said the theory of democracy is a little bit different from the practice. In theory, it's all about the rule of law. In theory, the public have the final say. Power belongs to the people. In theory, the judiciary is independent from the legislature, the legislature independent from the executives, and they are all monitoring, checking, overseeing each other. So that indeed, there is no concentration of power. In theory, the rich people, industrialists, business mogul, and all of these people don't have as much say as they should in the current system that we have, whether in the US, in the UK, or anywhere in the world.
But that is not happening now.
Now, in theory, government is the umpire, neutral, no vested interests in the running of this game. So on one hand is the public, on the other hand is private capitalists. So government plays that umpire, neutral, no interest. But in practice, it's not the case. In theory, democracy is meant to work for all. However, in practice, it works for some. In theory, anybody can become president. In practice, if you don't belong to the political class, you don't have the financial muscle, you don't have the media power, you don't have enough support to even do anything. However, in practice, across the world, it's a different ballgame. So this concept of democracy and the practice of democracy are two different things, and countries are at different points on that spectrum.
Then can we just say democracy as an ideal? Can we then say is elusive?
It is, but I think it's a good thing that just like we have very high standards in the Bible, and as Christians, we all try to live up to that standard, that ideal. So it's something to live up to, because if it actually functions, this world will be a different place. And this is the story of every country. We're trying to become democratic. However, there's another side to it. And the other side to it is that democracy is not the only system that leads to development. Because the purpose of democracy is development. But we know that democracy is not the only system. There are other systems.
I see that in practice.
That delivers development. So it's not like if you are not democratic, you are doomed. Singapore was not democratic for a long time. Even what we see in South Korea, the foundations were laid during military rule. Democracy in South Korea is less than about 30 years. So it's not true, and it's not the case. This is the Western idea that you have to be democratic before you become developed. And they've sold that line to us in Africa. However, what makes a person rich, I'm just deviating now, what makes a person rich has got little to do with their religion. But as Christians, we feel that we are entitled to wealth because we are believers.
I just saw somebody made that similar argument you just made now on the social media, and people wanted people to begin to comment.
I'm not saying being a Christian does not facilitate becoming wealthy.
Yeah.
However, the principles of wealth
Yeah.
are not solely
Yeah.
and entirely the prerogative of Christians and the Bible and believers.
You know, principles are principles. It doesn't respect who is, who is obeying the principles or who is practicing the principles.
So there are democratic nations that are not developing, will not develop, and it's not because of democracy. And there are countries that are not democratic that are developing, and it's not because of military rule. So the social structure of a society is very important. In fact, the economic structure is perhaps more important than the politics. So just to kind of balance the discussion that, okay, we focus on democracy, but at the same time, democracy is not the only answer to development.
Thank you. I think Kunle can step in because I know.
No, I was just enjoying Prof's line of thought.
Yeah.
And I didn't want him to stop. I almost felt like not interrupting him.
You have to.
Yeah, because I like the way and the balance that you bring to the discussion. I also like the fact that you are bringing this educated analysis into the discussion, and I was starting to enjoy it. I felt like, oh, there's more. Please carry on. Don't stop just now. And as we are talking about democracy, obviously, you mentioned the end goal, which is something that I was really glad you said that, because ultimately we want our societies to function for good of every citizen.
Yes.
That's the ideal.
Yes.
And I suppose human beings are trying to find, okay, how do we structure our government in a way that delivers that kind of outcome?
Yes.
And I think that in human history, we've tried so many things. We've tried feudalism, we've tried various other forms of government, some communist ideas in some sense, some socialist ideas in some sense. And then ultimately, as you said, I think it was the Greek that sort of formalized the idea of democracy.
Yes.
In theory, they might not have been the ones who, I mean, obvious ideas are not always necessarily domiciled with only a group of people. So I'm even sure in all of human history, there might have been people who figured or tried to experiment with that idea of democracy.
The
Where
Royal Empire did it.
Absolutely. So, and then we see that the Greek then sort of dabbled into it a bit, even though they didn't quite practice it themselves. Because I know that in Greece, they had these kings, and you had their philosophers, their, if you like, their educationists trying to say, you know what, maybe we can have this kind of society at some point. But it was just
They experimented with it for a while.
exactly.
They had a legislature that was different from the nobility, and then they had the kings, and they tried to rotate power among these three groups. And I think when the West took this concept of democracy, they broadened, especially the United States, they expanded it. In fact, when the US became democratic, most of Europe was still aristocratic, still feudal. Europe actually learned democracy from the United States. Because even as we speak today, there are still kings in Europe. The royal families there, Belgium,
one thing, the United States eliminated in their own democracy.
Monaco. So, but the US kind of brought this system into practice. No kings. And Europe looked over at the US and kind of copied a few things and said, okay, let's limit the power of the kings. Let's have a system in place where decisions are made by another body. You know, before, like in Yoruba land and most places, all three powers were fused into one institution. Legislative power was fused in the king, executive power was fused in the king, and then judicial power was also fused. So the king was like everything to everybody, and it's few people. However, in a democratic setting, these three important powers were separated,
That's right.
handled by three different bodies. And although they have overlapping responsibilities, but the idea was to check and balance, because power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So the Americans, United States, was the first nation that practiced in full, to a large extent, what democracy is: separation of powers. As we speak now, and this speaks to even the definition of freedom of speech between the United States and Europe. Freedom of speech in the United States means freedom to say anything. You can call the president stupid. You can call Trump anything. As far as the US is concerned, there's no limit to that freedom. However, in Europe, freedom of speech means something different. It has to be positive.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. You live in the UK. It's very difficult for you to say the prime minister is stupid. It's very difficult. I'm not saying you can't criticize him, but there's like some boundary of what you can say in the name of decorum or decency.
Yeah.
So it means that in Europe, that freedom is boundary, has boundaries. But that's one of the uniqueness of the US. It's very difficult to go up publicly and insult the royal family. But not that you'll be arrested, but it's like frowned at, because
I was actually going to say that you can actually insult the prime minister, but what you can't do is to insult the king.
Even the prime minister, you have to like do it cleverly.
You have to
not
be
like
clever.
You can do.
Yes, you have to be clever.
States.
Yes.
Yeah, in the States where anybody can say anything and we're protected. So, however, in our African context, democracy did not evolve. You know, somebody said something about the Benin Kingdom and how the British sacked Benin in 1897, I believe, looted, and some of the things that they took from Benin is still in the British Museum. And it just like reminds me of how our progress was arrested, how our evolution was stagnated, how our development was paused, if not stopped. Maybe 100 years later, we'll have developed our own system of government that will work for us. But after 1960, the end of colonial rule, we were still trying to figure out how to rule ourselves. And it's not impossible. It's not strange. It's not abnormal for a country to try to figure out how to rule itself. Like this current American Constitution is the second. The first Constitution, after 10 years, collapsed. And even this Constitution that the US is on has seen several amendments that, oh, we didn't think about this, or this was not part of the thing that we talked about at first. Let's add this to it. So our Civil War and the things that led to the Civil War are things that are normal in the course of the history of a nation.
That's right.
Constitutional discussion, trying to kind of resolve ethnic tensions and then crises, political and all that, because we are like lumped together, different people.
Absolutely. And just
However,
to buttress your point, you notice that, sorry to
no, please go on.
You also observe that in the United Kingdom, for example, there is no, the law is not
unwritten constitution.
It's an unwritten constitution, if you like. And there are bills that are sort of proposed from time to time. And it's almost as if you're adding to it based on circumstantial or situations that happen.
Yes.
You think, oh, right, this has happened. That let us put forward this bill to add it into the body of law. So it's a growing body of law from time to time. So I'm just kind of buttressing what you're saying.
Yeah, like AI is one of the new things that's being added into laws everywhere. Even our institutions have to add AI to exams, to assignments. So, but I think part of our tragedy is military intervention which is not like strange. They had military intervention in South Korea as well. And their military, the era of military rule really developed the nation significantly. Most of the industries they have today, even in Germany during Hitler, most of the industries were founded during that time. So it's still like a normal thing. However, we've not been allowed to evolve on our own. Democracy was like, oh, this is it. And we didn't have any say in this democratic project. I think I raised the question before that why is it that everywhere you turn in Africa, it's only American-style democracy? President, vice president, Senate. If you look at Europe, very diverse, and it's all still democracy. For example, here in Ireland, we elect our president every 7 years. Everybody goes to the poll. Our president is the equivalent of the Queen of England. But we don't have a royal family. So our president carries out ceremonial functions. And then we elect people into our parliament, and the leader of parliament emerges as the prime minister. So very similar to the UK system, but also very unique to us.
Mm.
And in France, they have a president, they have a prime minister, and the system of election, they don't have a royal family. Sweden is different, Switzerland is different, but it's all democracy. However, on our continent, it was like shoved down our neck. It's called democracy. Here you go.
So Africa then is the most patronized continent. It's the most patronized set of people, because and the people that were never allowed to develop at their own pace and terms or on their own terms.
Yeah.
I think it's a let's just put it's a dominated society. Put it that way.
Significantly. That's the concept behind new colonialism. Neo essentially means new colonialism.
Another form of colonialism.
Yeah.
Well, Victor, I heard what you said, but at the same time, the idea of how democracy evolved in Ireland, for example, which is a little bit different from the kind they are practicing in United Kingdom, or the one they are practicing in the US. Same democracy, we can say, but having different form and different approach in the way it's being carried out. And it is exactly the same thing that I, as a person, is trying to imagine, that we also, as African, we can modify the form of democracy that we are practicing in such a way that it will become what I call Africana. It's something that reflects our worldview, something that reflects our philosophy, something that reflects how we are as a people, even though we are very diverse. But I think we can bring in all those differences into it, which will, in my own opinion, will make it very unique and dynamic. Now, looking at governance in Africa, I'm talking about not looking specifically at democracy. We know that what dominated African landscape in terms of governance is monarchy at the beginning. It was monarchy that was practiced. And sometimes our myths are legend. I know I and Kunle have done this in the time past. We've tried to look at what type of leadership is best suitable for the African society. And we had about 2 or 3 sessions on that. And we actually had something on servant leadership that took us about 2 podcasts to be able to thoroughly deal with the subject of servant leadership. Now, when you look at monarchy in Africa, and you look at the purest form of monarchy, I'm not talking about the corrupted version, but when you look at monarchy in its purest form, just like we are looking at democracy, and we talked about the purity of democracy, the ideal of democracy in itself. So when we look at monarchy as a form of government, you will see representation, you will see shared leadership, you will see consultation, you will see participatory form of leadership. People different, like in our own local area, for example, if you want to elect a king, you don't just, even though it's going to be contested, but there are procedures that would need to be followed. There are houses, there are what we call ruling houses. And anybody within that ruling houses is competent or is qualified to become a king. But that does not necessarily mean anybody can become a king. But it's just that anybody who is born into that ruling house can emerge as a king. Then after following that procedure, the ruling house, the head of the ruling house will conduct a meeting and agree, okay, this is the person we're going to select to be our representative. And then at the end of the day, they might select 2 or 3 people. And at the end of the day, the kingmakers, which is also an interesting part of the form of governance in Africa. The king don't just emerge from nowhere. There are people who are called kingmakers who are going to consult themselves or consult oracle, as the case may be, and then decide that this is the person we are electing or we are selecting to become the king. Now, when you look at democracy in that form, there is representation, because even the chieftaincy title occupation within the palace, it is some of those chieftaincy titles are zoned to particular families. Family A can never be a particular chief, no matter how powerful or how wonderful you are in the society, because according to what we have in that society, this particular chieftaincy title must only go to the family of, let's say, of Ajibogun. That is the family that becomes the Balogun of the city. Now we have that forms of governance in Africa. Now, for me, one of the areas that I'm looking at is that if we truly want, to adopt those elements of representation, participation, and shared leadership and consultative, because even when the king is making decision, he doesn't make the decision all alone by himself. But though in the corrupted version of monarchy, the king can decide to do whatever he likes. But in the purest form of monarchy, the king still consults. He will consult the chiefs, he will consult the elders, he will consult the oracle before a decision is made. Even though the king is eventually going to make the decision, but consultation is going to be made, which for me is very, very interesting. And we should really pay attention to those forms, those elements that is being practiced within even monarchy itself. Then for me, I believe that for us to have a kind of leadership that will reflect the kind of leader that we want in Africa, I am looking at something like a servant leader that will be able to coordinate all those elements and then, amalgamate it into something that will be meaningful. Now, the question I want to ask you is this. Now, looking at all these things that I have said, how should we balance the idea of power structure in the African democratic system with the understanding of a servant leader who is not autocratic. Of course, he's not also stupid, but it's just that he's very empathetic, is looking at issue on a global scale, and then is able to take everything that people have brought together in his front and then able to make a sensible decision. I know servant leadership is not common in Africa. It's not even being practiced in Africa, but this is where we can go. But how is it possible for us to balance all these excesses with that spirit of empathy in leadership?
That's quite interesting. I think it's unfair to say that we don't have servant leaders in Africa. One of the tragedies of Africa generally is that Western, and I live in the West, so I don't have anything against the West as such.
Yeah.
But to put things in context, you have to go back to the roots. I think one of the things that affected us was during Western invasion of Africa, including the church and the penetration of the church in Africa. A lot of African practices, African systems, African knowledge was destroyed deliberately. The Benin Kingdom is an example.
But with the permission of the Africans themselves.
Well, I don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah.
Because I've heard Black Americans say things like, oh, Africans sold them to slavery. I've heard a lot of Black Americans say that. They sound as if the whole exercise that took about 300 years was so mutual that all we did was just sell blacks abroad, which is not true, because if that's the case, then there will be no wars between the British and the locals. There will be no treaties signed. There will be no weapons. There will be no issue. Like in this name, have you heard the name Oguntoyinbo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of our professors.
Common in Yoruba, in Nigeria.
Yeah, one of our professors was telling us the origin of that name. He said the reason why that name came was during British expansion and invasion, conquest, treaty, there were a lot of resistance, both in the south and the north. So in Yoruba land, the belief was that Ogun is enough to fight and resist. Ogun Toyinbo, that is Ogun Toba Oyinbo Ja. So they consulted the god of thunder, god of iron. They had their local weapons ready. So when the British got there, what the British did was that they took these machine guns, didn't face the people because they needed them for slavery, faced the forest, and just released bullets and fired shots at the forest. And as the trees were going down, the people just surrendered. That if you have this much weapons that would destroy. So there's a lot of misconceptions. One of that is what I just said now, that, oh, Africans, that's why a lot of Black Americans hate Africans. They think that we sold them.
Yeah.
But it's not true. In the same way, there's a lot of...
It's not a complete truth, but there are some element of truth in it.
It's called whitewashing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes it sound as if, well, we are neutral, we are innocent.
Yeah. It's the restating of story to favor a particular...
It's called whitewashing.
It's whitewashing, you're right.
Yeah. The destruction of Benin Empire. All my life, I never heard how much destruction happened in Benin Empire. All we had while we were growing up was that the British invaded Benin Empire and sent the king on exile in your own country, in your own land, and took over your land. Like part of the argument of late President Mugabe of Zimbabwe was when he became president, 90%, and the same in South Africa, 90% of the land belonged to white people. So Mugabe said, okay, where did you get this land? Oh, they say we bought the land. Okay.
Who are the
Who
people
did you
so
buy the land from? This is the retreat. Who gave you the land? The government. Who is the government? Who owns the land? Now, if you can't prove to me that you got the land from the original owners, that you set up a government of white people, by white people, for white people, and you will now own 90% of the land, something is wrong. So in the
And I
same
think,
way,
Prof, I
in
think
the
that
same
goes
way,
back
our
to your
political system, which you eloquently described, of chiefdoms, baales, royal families, the electoral system involved, the selection based on different factors, the mama lodgers will have a say,
Yeah.
the economic class will have a say, the political class will have a say, the security will have a say. It was a functional democracy. But when we were invaded, it was cancelled. It was blacklisted. You know, like they say, if the lion can write his own story, we will see the fault and the errors in the story of the hunter. But for a long time, African literature, African history was written by white people.
Yeah.
The Dark Continent, savages, barbaric people, without knowledge. They use their hand to eat.
They don't have documentations.
No documentation, no history, no form of writing.
Yeah.
And this thing still like perpetuates in the West.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't the case, because you have to demonize before you impose. You have to make something look rubbish, useless.
You have to discredit,
destroy before you now impose. So people see no value in what was there before, and then they think that your system is the best. So we have all of those stuff. But back to the main thing. The concept of power, especially in a democracy, I don't think servant leaders can make it to the top in a democratic system, democratic capitalist system.
Yeah.
Not that they don't exist, but the system will choke them to the point that they cannot compete. People who have genuine interests in the welfare of society, in the welfare of the public, in this ideal that you are describing, the system has choked them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they exist, they are there, but there's no platform for them to rise. For example, some political parties, nomination form, 100 and something million. That's not about campaigning. That's not about greasing the oil. That's not about giving money for media. That's not about traveling around. Heavy financial input.
Just to register your interest.
Just to say that I want to compete at the party level. Talk less of if you get the nomination. It's all self-funded. So there are people who have genuine interest, who have brilliant ideas about leadership, about rulership. But where we are on that spectrum is still way behind. That brilliant ideas don't even survive within political spaces. Because remember, this concept of power, some people believe, I was even making the analogy before this meeting. I was saying that the way Nigeria's democracy works is the way global system also works. Nigeria is a small example of the global system. The Nigerian system is power belongs to a few people who milk the system and want to perpetuate themselves and their children and their class. They see the wealth of the nation as their right. Once they get into political power, they now take economic power, they take legislative power, they take security power, and then they just use it to ring fence themselves. So they will attack you with the court, attack you with police, attack you with laws, attack you with policy, all in their interests. If you're not for them, you are against them. That's how the global system works too.
Yeah.
A few countries, United States, West Europe, just go around the world and pick and choose. We want that. Can we have it, please? And if you're not ready to play ball, we bomb the hell out.
Just like somebody went to a restaurant to point at the kind of fish he wants to eat. So just I want to eat that one.
And they say, what about money? We sell it. Sell it to who? We don't buy. We take.
We take.
Yeah, and if you're not ready, we'll deal with you.
Yes.
We first we spoil your name in the media.
Yes.
Ayatollah is evil. It's bad. It's killed millions of people. The people are suffering. They need to be liberated. And then once the media starts singing the song, they begin to, that's the manufactured consent.
Yeah.
They begin to condition the mind of people to justify the action that's going to follow.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, you hear something like, the United States is not going to stand by, and the international community, who is these people? The international community are going to stand by and allow a regime as dangerous as this to have weapons of mass destruction, although we have it and we've used it. They don't have it. They never used it.
And they've never used it.
But we have the right because we made the international laws. We are not bound by it. So we can do whatever we want. Even when the UN is telling us not to do it, we created the UN, so we are above the UN. We are exceptional. And under the name of international, we can go around and take the president of Venezuela. We can set Libya on fire. We can go to Chad. We can go to Iran. After Iran, Turkey is that's next. We're fighting with Russia. We're trying to get to China. Why? Because power belongs to us. So this idea about servant leadership,
as good as it politics is.
Sorry?
Yeah. I said, as wonderful as it is,
in modern politics, it's difficult. That's why people,
I know it's difficult, but can't it be part of the attributes of who we should look at when we are electing our leaders? I'm not saying it should be the main attribute, but at least it should be somebody that also reflects that kind of leadership.
There are people like that, sir.
I know there are people like that.
And the public is aware. The public is not stupid. The public can see. But the thing is that there are systems. And he who controls the systems controls society.
Yeah.
One of the systems in every democratic nation is the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission is like the passage into power. They open the door and allow certain people to go in. Most people within the political class, like I can say this without any fear of contradiction, what the APC has done is to first hijack the electoral system. He who, in the African context, he who controls the electoral system controls the political space.
Yeah.
And how do you hijack that kind of body? You target the individuals within the system one by one. For example, in the Nigerian context, the electoral commissioner, INEC chairman, is single-handedly appointed by the president. There is no collective decision-making. They say the person is recommended by the legislature, appointed by the president, and ratified by the judiciary. So when Buhari appointed this the one before him, can't remember his name.
Daudu, or is he Daud? Is he Daudu now? Or what's they call it?
He's a professor from ABU.
No, it was Jonathan that appointed that one. Jega.
Jega.
It was Jonathan that appointed it.
So what they did is that once you and then the state
Yakubu, the
commissioners.
next one was Yakubu. It was Buhari who appointed Yakubu.
Yeah, so the Buhari one
that messed up. That messed us up.
So when the president singularly picks people that important, and then the state commissioners also are picked in similar fashion, these are the people that come up with the total count of the votes. And these are the people that decide who becomes state governor, who becomes president. So when this system is hijacked, ask yourself, why is it the case that after every election in most African countries, there's violence? Sudan, Cameroon, Nigeria, Niger, most countries that are democratic, there's always violence erupting. Why? Because the results and the public expectation, they are two different things. The public is not stupid. We've go out to vote, but we can't control the result. That's why there's violence. So one of the systems in place that chokes or stop people from electing who they see as the servant leader, who is saying all the right things, who is familiar with their problems, who has ideas. It's not just Emilocon. It's not somebody that says, oh, it's my right. Somebody who has good things to say, to do. But the door that lets them get in is always controlled by the electoral system. In the West, you can't do that because the electoral system is independent and they have to kind of show transparency in the US and the UK. But what they do in the West more is to spend more time in the media. The media system in the West is it's how consent is manufactured, how candidates are destroyed, and how candidates are repackaged. Like Nigel Farage is being repackaged now to become the next Prime Minister of the UK. And he's saying all the racist things that he needs to say so that a lot of white people will kind of, yeah, this is the guy we want, he's going to deal with. But it's a dead end. The UK is digging their hole, digging their grave, sadly. Similar things happen in the US. Why?
Victor,
Because, yeah.
Victor, don't you think that looking at democracy as a form of governance, is it not something that relies, let me say, 80% of the time on the benevolence of the leader? Because looking at democracy itself is a very fragile form of government.
Thanks to Trump.
It can be easily corrupted. Who could have thought that American democracy from 2008 that celebrated the emergence of a Black man as the president of America can then, within space of less than 20 years, move from that to what we have in the moment. So, because, we were talking about the idea of a servant leader. I know the idea will be contested. Even the person that is emerging to become a servant leader will have to experience pushback here and there. When you look at Nigeria, it's not as if we don't have people that can govern Nigeria. I can even mention people closing my eyes. We have Adesina there, we have Upojoela there, we have even Professor Yemi Osinbajo can effectively govern Nigeria. Well, I wouldn't push out Peter Obi as well. I will give him his flower. He can do it. There are other people that we know are competent, that I believe has this sense of empathy towards the people more than the current crop of leader that we have in the arena.
Please go on.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at it that how do we, because that was the question I asked you, how do we want to maintain that balance between fragility and benevolence?
Yeah, good question. And I think this is the struggle everywhere in the world between the force of good and the force of evil.
Mm.
Or maybe let me speak political language between capital and labor,
Mm.
between the public and those in power,
Mm.
everywhere in the world.
Mm.
Because capital or the wealthy will want to keep control of laws, of systems, of governance to their interests.
Mm.
And there's always people resisting,
Mm.
radicals, people who want a change in the system. You know, if the system is in your favor, you want to preserve it.
Exactly.
If the system is not in your favor, you want to change it. So these two forces are always at loggerheads.
Okay.
In 20, yeah, in 2008, when Obama came in, I think the force for good
Mm.
was overwhelming.
Mm.
However, there's always a pushback.
Yeah, that was always a pushback.
There
If
was a pushback
Obama
by the
had
wealthy
not
class.
emerged, we wouldn't be where we are today.
The wealthy class have pushed back.
Yeah.
Because even if you look at the history of the United States, in the 1940s, after the World War, 1950, 1960, the middle class resurgence, 1960s, the civil rights, it was a good time to be an American.
Mm.
There was a Cold War going on, so capitalism had to prove to the world that it's a good system. Civil rights movement, Black people, people from everywhere in the world, America became the home of the land of the free, home of the brave. And things worked. Why? Because the force for good pushed back against the force for evil, or the people pushed back against the wealthy class. However, in the last 20 years, we've seen the wealthy push back upon freedom by laws, through money at systems, got a billionaire into the presidency, surrounded himself with billionaires, and it's like a pushback on the system to the point now that all the things that America used to stand for is like disappearing. Although American democracy is still very strong, still fighting back, the media is still fighting, the judiciary is not all weak compared to other countries in Africa. So, like I said, we're all on the spectrum, and sometimes we regress, sometimes there's progression. So all those forces are at work.
I really love I love the way you describe it as a spectrum, because I think that perfectly encapsulates what's going on. It's a good characterization.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
I think so
spectrum,
too.
yeah, it actually shows that everyone is somewhere.
Zone level.
So if you say it's just between 1 and 10, so everyone, no one is ever really at 10.
No.
Yeah.
No one is at 10.
Exactly.
Maybe we've all left one, perhaps. Oh, no, between 0 and 10.
And that calls for celebration at least.
Let's say between 0 and 10. So nobody's on 0. I think that's a guarantee. Nobody's on 0.
Yeah.
But everyone is somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And some appear to be more mature. And even within that maturity, there's always this pendulum that swings forth and
Exactly.
back.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
And I like
And that battle, it doesn't come at a negotiating table most times. Sometimes it comes with violence, comes with resilience. It comes with, civil society pushing back significantly. Because the wealthy class, the ruling class, the political class, the elites, all they think and all they do is power to strengthen their position. Whether it's legislative power, I think a couple of years ago, I heard that the 400 richest family in the US, they have a meeting every year. They pull resources together every year to influence politics, to influence policy.
You know, the amount of money that the 10 richest men in the world has now is frightening.
How much did Elon Musk spend towards the election of Trump? And since Trump became president, and I'm not kind of focusing on the US alone.
Yeah.
This is what happens everywhere. In Nigeria also. It may not be as obvious,
Absolutely.
but it's still the same. The
Yeah.
wealthy
You see
class,
their body language.
the wealthy class, they pull together
Mm.
because their wealth is from the commonwealth of the nation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can't live anywhere else.
Mm.
It's the same situation in the UK across the world.
Mm.
Yeah. I wanted to ask a question, Prof. And I think you've more or less started it. You've actually been talking about it, but for the sake of giving that conversation a more pointed focus, let me ask it. And it's about how would you describe the philosophy, the mindset that underpins how the chain of command is structured? And I want to be more specific now about Nigeria or the African setting. I think you started it by saying that it's that preservation of power and consolidation of power. But maybe if you can expand more on that, that would really be very interesting.
I mean, what kind of structure are you referring to?
So I'm talking about the way our democratic system is structured. What do you think is the mindset, the philosophy that really powers that structure? Or what do you think is at the back of the mind of the people, the power holders, if you like, uh, to
Like,
that the time
like
that
if you look
Hmm.
at let me try to chip in my own idea of what Kunle is trying to say. If you look at the way Tinubu, Tinubu is a very special politician. There are things to praise about him. There are also things to demonize about him. But if you look at the way Tinubu has organized himself politically, I believe there is nobody that can match him. Currently, I don't see any politician in Nigeria that can match the level of intelligence, the level of strategy that he deploys in political space. But so looking at that, the way he commands his own structure, there are a few rebels under his structure and there are many loyalists within the structure. But when you look at it, what can you say is an underlying principle or an idea that is behind that kind of structure? Or maybe you want to look at any other politician if we are not looking at Tinubu.
which is why I really don't want us to focus necessarily. Well, it might be Tinubu, it might be anyone else, but it's just whenever politicians or people that are in position of power, however they are structured, there must be something that motivates action.
Exactly.
So the motivation behind whatever structure that is deployed, whatever system that they deploy, that's what I'm actually hoping we can just touch
Yeah,
on.
thanks for the clarity. I think it's still the same across the world.
Mm.
Region, nation, color, continent notwithstanding. People within the political class believe that there's a difference between leaders and the led.
Mm.
And they believe that power, political, economic, legislative, policy, judicial, belongs to them.
Mm.
So they don't see rule of law. They see rule by law.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
They don't see laws as shared and collective.
Mm.
They see laws for them to
Mm.
protect them
Mm.
by them.
Mm. Mm.
They don't see equality.
Mm.
They see hierarchy.
Mm.
That's why a president is going and then there's like 15 cars and buys a motorcycle, just one person. In the West, it's not so obvious, but still the same system.
Yeah.
So, and that mindset is ingrained, whether in the US or in Abuja or in London. So they believe and then they craft the system in their interest to protect them.
Mm.
So laws are not made in the interest of the public.
Mm.
Laws are made in the interest of the ruling class.
Mm.
Whatever we derive, people like us are not part of the ruling class. Sometimes it's unintended consequences, but ultimately it's to protect them.
Mm.
Now, there's a justification for it. So it's not all from self-interest. And the justification is that if the wealthy, because of their stake in the economy, they have companies, they have huge investments. If you are too harsh on them,
It can
they will
collapse
go,
society.
they will leave.
Mm.
For example, if Apple leaves Ireland, 55,000 people are going to go sign on social welfare tomorrow. And we have a couple of American companies in Ireland.
Mm.
Apple headquarters is here in Ireland. Google headquarters is here in Ireland. Facebook headquarters is here in Ireland. And a few other companies are here, mostly American companies. Why? Because our
Amazon,
Amazon's here. Our
Oh,
corporation tax.
and they kind of lead the other regions in Europe, right?
Yeah, our corporation tax is 12.5%.
Okay.
Whereas in the UK it's 27%.
Wow.
In
Wow.
France it's 23%.
Wow.
And even because it's 12.5%, you can still like do some underground relationship with the government, 1 year, 2 years tax-free. So they're not stupid.
Mm.
We speak English, they speak English in the US. We are highly educated, they're highly educated. We're not Spain, we're not Portugal, so there won't be language barrier.
Mm.
And then our government understands this logic.
Mm.
So it's in their interest to be here.
Mm.
And then they can still enjoy other benefits under the table, not in black and white.
Mm.
They do it everywhere in the world.
Mm.
So that's the argument. That's what government sees.
Mm.
And that's why government is very considerate. But government, like I said at the start, is meant to be the umpire, neutral
Mm.
between labor and capital.
Mm.
But most people in government are part of capital.
Mm.
They're all billionaires as well.
Mm.
Like some of my students were asking that why do we have housing crisis? And that it was different 10 years ago. I said, all problems are artificial.
Mm.
There's no natural problem. It's only in Nigeria that you think that some problems are natural. That God has made them because they've been there before you were born, like electricity.
The cause of the ancestors.
Our ancestors
Ogo is
experienced
not
it.
happy. Ogo is angry.
No, you thought that is Shango. It's Shango.
So I said, it's natural, it's artificial. Why? Because those in government that are meant to build houses that are meant to compete with what the private capitalists provide, so that it's a balanced system. Private will build 200, government will build 200. So if you can't afford private, you come to the states. So everybody has a place. When government decides not to build or not to build enough, there's going to be an artificial scarcity. And when there's artificial scarcity, demand goes up, supply cannot meet the demand, the price will go up. So how do we reverse this? Government should build more. But government is reluctant to build more because government, on one hand, is part of this capitalist society, capitalist group. Many of them, there's one politician that said he has 11 houses. That's the one that disclosed. Others will not disclose. Others will hide under several companies. So, like in Nigeria, the people that you have appointed to do Like the police you have appointed in Nigeria to secure the society are the ones now robbing the society. And it's sadly everywhere. So the mindset of the ruling class is totally different from the mindset of the other class. And that mindset is it's not the servant leader mindset.
No. And therefore, if someone is purportedly a servant leader by nature, they say, no, you can't come here. You can't come here. You are going to spoil
our
business.
Space.
They put barrier.
You can't come
no space.
There's no space for you. Stay out.
There's no space. You have
and for as long as that person is outside the arena, you are respected. You are
yes. They will say go and do charity. Go to charity space. We push it. You go and do charity, please.
Just be like a radical, and if you are making too much noise, they throw you in prison. They ask IBB, why did you put Fela in prison? He said, I have no reason. My predecessor put him in prison. I just felt like putting him in prison too.
Yeah.
Too much.
You are speaking too much. Keep quiet.
I think our focus as a people, and one of the battles we need to fight in Africa is the electoral commission battle. That the people hold the key to the door to political office. I'm not saying it's going to be the best, but if there's more transparency in that system, it is highly possible that people who have good intentions may get in.
That is, if the umpire is more independent,
transparent.
It's more transparent. You say, listen, I'm truly blind. I really don't care who gets in. Then and only then, perhaps.
Possible.
Yeah.
Remember when Trump alleged that the Trump-Biden election was rigged, and Fox News and this same Tucker Carlson began shouting that the election was rigged. The private company in charge of electoral conduct in the US went to court, presented evidence that all they did was transparent. They counted. And Fox News was made to pay about 800 million in fines and damages. Because everything they said, rigged in Georgia, it was rigged in this state. They put up evidence.
And it was not true.
But in Nigeria, every presidential election,
they destroy all the evidence,
has been rigged.
Yeah.
Every presidential election ended up in the Supreme Court. And every presidential election, it is who INEC declares as the president that remains the president. Nobody has successfully won any court case against a sitting president
at
in
the
Nigeria.
presidential level.
So that's one of the bottlenecks that we need. And most of the times when they make laws, like the Electoral Act in 2022, people don't really pay attention. You know, the sad thing is that we only pay attention during election. But what happens between elections are more important than during elections. Like the 2022 Electoral Act, they jacked up the campaign budget for the presidency, campaign budget for the governors, campaign budget for the houses. I don't have the figures in front of me, but as a presidential candidate, you can spend up to about 2 billion naira to campaign for that office. I think for the governorship, it's about 200 million, or if not more. Now, how many servant leaders can afford it? So essentially,
well, if we go the way of Obama, you know, when Obama emerged as a presidential candidate, you know, he really went to the grassroots. People with $5, people with $1, they all came together to fund him. Can't we have that kind of person who can who can pull such a people or the society behind him, even if it means people donated 2 naira, 5 naira.
It sounds like we are hoping to be lucky.
No,
Actually,
Peter Obi almost did it.
Yeah, he almost did it, right?
The last election was the first time in our history since 1999 that we had 3 strong candidates at election.
Yes.
But we had 2.
Yeah, we always have to.
Peter Obi was this outlier that had no structure. Labour Party was unknown, was new. But his personality,
Yeah,
his testaments, his comments, his arguments, his identification with the youths, with the grassroots was so strong.
Yeah.
But what killed him was because he had no system.
Yeah.
I have a friend who is
And again, some of his supporters are not also very helpful.
The supporters are there.
But no, I mean the way they engage the society is not very.
No, that's not what killed him.
It's part of it. No, I'm even talking about the current dispensation now. In my own opinion, I think the supporters are doing more damage to him more now than any other thing else, because
sorry to interrupt, even if he gets as far as becoming a real challenge to Tinubu, what will hold him back is that his party has no structure.
Yes.
I didn't understand what structure meant until I did one interview with a guy that was like a PA to a commissioner in Edo State. He said the way politics works in Nigeria is that structure is everything.
Yeah, structure is everything. I believe that.
There's ward.
Yeah.
No, there's units, polling units to ward, from ward to coalition center to states, and then to INEC.
And you have to have representative in all these places.
You have to have, and there are about 779
774 local governments.
Local governments, and each local government has polling units. So the last election, what happened was that people actually voted for Obi in many states. But when it now got to the counting and then the transfer of the ballot from units to center, from center to the central, was where the rigging happened. Labour Party did not have enough people on ground to say, how many people? 15. Okay, we follow 15 to the next center. Okay, 15 is written there, not 150. And then from there to the coalition center. Remember, the Beavers was not working. The electronic transfer of results. So they eventually used paper. Why? Pen and paper.
There were a lot of scribblings.
Yeah, so 15 at the voting center can become 150 on the way. Or 215. So you just add 2 in front of 15 or 0 at the back of 15. And that's where you need the structure. The structure are the people on ground that you have paid, not that the party is going to pay them. You pay them.
Exactly.
To get them to monitor, fight, and make sure that the system works. So even today, Obi's party does not have it because it's part
and that's why people still to maintain that structure.
That's why Tinubu is spending money like.
Do you know why I'm smiling? I'll tell you what. Do you know that in electric power generation, right, in the whole idea of how electricity works that comes to our homes, it's not the generation of the power that really matters. You can deploy dam system, e.g. Kanji Dam, or you can even build a nuclear power generator. You can do wind if you like. You can do solar. That's not the point. The real issue is the transmission. Is the transmission of that electricity and then the distribution, which gets to the end point. But the key thing is that transmission. If you cannot transmit what you generated successfully, it really doesn't matter. And I think that explains what you're saying about structure. If you don't have the capacity to transmit or to transmit that ballot or the election, the vote ballot, isn't it?
From
From
ward to
the
the,
polling unit
yes, from the polling units.
to the ward, and
Yeah.
then to ultimately to
Collation
get to
center, and ultimately to the, yeah.
no chance.
That's one of the reasons why I think, not that I like it, I think APC is going to win this current election.
Yeah,
Election.
I know. Yeah, there is no doubt about that. But
They
it's
have
not,
the structure.
yeah.
Because I think the way the system works in Nigeria and across the world is once you occupy political power, you use that power to amass economic power.
Mm.
And you use the economic power to sustain your political power.
Mm.
So the first thing you do once you get into office is to steal as much as possible and then buy your way into the judiciary. So in case it gets to court, they've got your back.
Yeah.
Buy your way into the legislature, give them cars, make them favor you. Buy your way into the security apparatus.
Give them houses.
Yeah, buy your way into the security apparatus, the police, the military, everybody supports you. Buy your way into the media so that all people hear is positive, 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 positive.
Do you know, Prof, that
sit
this
down.
is exactly the same thing that happens even in business? So, for example, why is it that somebody who, let's say, a farmer in Nigeria cannot compete with some of these big conglomerates? Is again this thing about systems and structure. If you can produce, you're producing so much, right? But you don't have the mechanism to distribute your produce through the entire supply chain. You are nowhere. And this is where the likes of Amazon, the likes of all these big players, that's where they thrive. They have super efficient supply chain.
Systems.
Right from the farm or from the point of production to they have it. So you can then go and sell on Amazon. You don't even need to build that system. Just say, in fact, they just franchise their system to you.
Yeah.
Is what McDonald's does. You don't need to build it. We already have that system. You just buy a chain, right? And this is honestly what you're saying is so true because that really is where this whole thing go. Really, that's where the rubber hits the road, as they say.
Now, Victor, your primary responsibility as a professor is to rethink new system. Maybe I'm giving you that authorization is to rethink new system and help us to fashion a better way of doing things. So my question for you is, how can we or how should we rethink the notion of power and authority in our political space today? You know, we have identified some of the frictions that could not make it work. But I know as a professor, one of the things you should be interested in is what are the options? What other way do we have to address some of these issues? How should we
Segun, that's a wonderful question, but I want him to answer this. I want to throw this as well in, if maybe you can answer it together.
Okay.
You mentioned something the other time that the electorate tends to go to sleep or seem to be only activated during election time. But in between election, there's almost no participation. There's almost there's a sense of amnesia, like you're not even going to a state of comatose, not even knowing what's happening until election season is here. So which means, to my mind, there's a certain kind of if you like, education, awareness, or something that needs to happen to the electorate that makes us more intelligent to engage intelligently with the political process. Maybe if this goes along with this question that Shegun has asked,
please, I think so.
I think it does. Rightly so. The damage is done in between elections. Laws, decisions, policies, like the Bible says, when men slept. When we both go to bed, these guys don't sleep, man.
They don't sleep.
These guys are scheming, they are thinking. They're not thinking like you and me, just to live a happy life, love our wives, and then care for our children. They're thinking about 2 generations, 3 generations down the line, and how to kind of stay in power. The electorate is only mainly active in most parts of the world during elections, most part. However, there are systems put in place to keep monitoring government. And the 2 major ones are the media. I think maybe 3. The media,
the
opposition parties, NGOs, and sometimes the ombudsman, police ombudsman, to check if the police is racist, to look at individual cases, opposition parties to shout loud, make bills, NGOs to kind of let the world know what's happening to the sick, to the hospitals, to disabled, and then the media, the loudest, the most important. Because that's part of the function. That's why I took interest in the media. That's why I went to do a PhD. I looked at the West and I saw the role of the media. Nixon was exposed by the media and he was expelled by the media. President Men, who did this long investigation and then found significant corruption. And the Nigerian media has been very heroic during colonial rule. They played a very important role. Tribune and all of them, Awolowo, all came through the pipeline of the media. They were once journalists. They were the ones that mobilized the Nigeria. There was no Nigeria, really, up until 1914. So the media brought this consciousness of a nation after the amalgamation of the South and the North. The media began reporting from Lagos and then became a national media. And they kept on shouting constitutional conferences, meetings, up until independence. And even after independence, the media continued to play a very significant role during military rule. Nadeko, all of them went underground, Punch, many papers were proscribed. But as soon as military rule came to an end in 1999 and became civilian rule, it was the media found themselves in a different space. Before it was media versus military. Now it became media versus civilians. And some of the civilians were media owners. So many media stations and newspapers, number one, became compromised. For example, the Nation newspaper, owned by Tinubu. This newspaper has never reported anything against the government.
What do you expect?
And they claim to be neutral. They claim to be unbiased. They claim to be professional. How is that the case? So what the ruling class have done is that they are aware of all of these systems and they try as much as possible, not successfully all the time, try to own, try to control, try to prescribe, try to restrict. Oh, which station are you reporting from? I'm with a channel. You can't come in. Try to limit, try to, unpick. We see Trump do it every time. Your newspaper is crooked. You are the worst reporter ever. ABC, you're all fake news. Just to discredit them. No. But not all the time. They're not successful. So these 4 bodies are out there meant to help us, inform us, update us. But in most countries, the media is the most political, the most supervised, the most watched. In most countries, especially in Africa, NGOs that should have a certain budget from the government because they do the job of reporting, telling the world what is happening on ground. They are defunded. Most NGOs in Africa are funded from abroad. And once you are funded from abroad, your allegiance is not local. Your allegiance is international. and your funders or your donors have their own agenda. So
you have to push that agenda.
Whether it's in the interest of the local or not. So for example, if you are funded by an NGO in the US that is in support of LGBT, you have to do what they want locally, and that may not be what people want. So the NGOs also are compromised to a certain level. Opposition politicians in Nigeria, all they do now is, our politics is, where is the food? I will decamp tomorrow.
Yes, there is no opposition anymore.
There's no opposition.
But I'm really afraid that we are not going to end up with one party states with the way things are going.
It looks like so.
Yeah.
So opposition is not like doing the job of opposition, because they've all decamping. Like out of 36 governors, 30 governors now are under APC. And
to be fair to Tinubu never did that. He stood against the government when he was all by himself. He stood against the government. When as a governor.
I think Tinubu is a tragedy. The reason why I say so is because he was there all along as a boy, seeing what the politics of policy, politics of integrity, the politics of transparency, the Awolowo kind of politics, IBP kind, MKO kind of politics. But his takeaway from that system is that it does not work.
Yeah.
His takeaway from that system is that Nigeria's politics is cash.
I'm not ready for that.
His politics is cash and carry. He saw the failure, or maybe, sorry to say, because those systems did not work then.
Inadequacies.
Yeah, the inadequacies of that kind of system. And what he has done and what he has perfected is that he has come up with a system of cash and carry. He buys his way. But the tragedy of Tinubu is that he knows how to manipulate the system, but he has little to offer the people. He knows how to get to power, but he doesn't know what to do with power. Why? Because he is so compromised by the time he gets to power that you can't turn back and bite the fingers that fed you.
Yeah.
So for example, now, there's this massive case against him, Chicago, drugs, which he never refuted with evidence. Getting into power, it's like a bargaining chip. The Americans will call him today and say, we need XYZ. We need a military base in Nigeria. Buhari said no. Jonathan said no. We need a military base in Nigeria. He has to say yes. Why? Because they've got something against him. Between Tinubu, okay, they ask him, between you and Nigeria, who comes first? He will pick himself. He's not going to sacrifice himself for Nigeria. So that's why I'm saying that it will have been like this. It's in the stature of Awolowo. In fact, what Awolowo never became, he's become the president of Nigeria. But what has he got to offer?
Well, with
that's why it's difficult to be a servant leader and actually be a leader. Because
in African context,
I don't want to even talk about external forces. People, institutions, governments that have heavy investment in Nigeria's oil sector, heavy investment in Nigeria's aviation. We only have one international company flying from Nigeria to the UK. But think about the last 20, 30 years, the millions of Nigerians have traveled to the UK, traveled to Europe. No single airline. Nigeria Airways has been dead for a long time. Look at the millions that these companies rake in.
Or talk
Except-
about education. It's
except
literally
this-
every sector you can
So,
think about.
These people, all about textile industry, these capitalists, global capitalists, have a stake in the Nigerian economy.
Absolutely.
They are fighting tooth and nail to get back Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, countries that don't even seem to have half of what we have.
Yeah.
To tell you how strategic Africa is
Yeah.
to the West.
Yeah.
So the West also is not going to wait and for a leader, servant leader, who loves the people, who wants to build roads, who wants to take our education to the next level so we don't see the need to travel to the UK, who want to set up a textile industry so that we don't have to buy fairly used clothes from the UK or from Europe, who wants to make food abundant that we don't have to import. This is somebody that's going to work against foreign interests. We don't want them. We don't want it there. We don't want such people there.
You're automatically an enemy. You
So
will be.
if you use business terms, a servant leader is a threat to our economic interests.
Absolutely.
Somebody that will get there and now say, we nationalize all oil companies. We don't want foreign companies to do oil in Nigeria. What? Do you know how much Shell is going to lose? Or IGP or BP? The amount of wealth that they mine from us and probably don't report enough. I think if you take politics out of the way, the real battle for Africa is economics.
Period. Because
Politics is just a small screen.
Africa is a huge resource center.
Yeah,
Politics is just a small screen. Democracy is a small screen. To understand poverty in Africa, take politics out of it. Explanation for wars in Africa is because of economics. We don't manufacture that much weapon. Why is there so much war? We have resources. Why can't we control it? We have people who can work. Why don't we have companies? Why can't we produce? Why is it the case that we've just been turned to a supplier of raw materials, but we depend on the rest of the world for everything? And the answer is just obvious.
It's very obvious.
Your prosperity, your sustenance, your economics is a threat to others. So to see you become a competition, to see you develop, to see you become better, is going to take away from them. But this is the mindset of evil. And it's the mindset of underdevelopment. The thinking that the prosperity of somebody else is a threat to your prosperity is demonic. A time is going to come, and it's not going to be far from now, that this war over oil is going to come to an end. Why? Because there are other sources of energy. That we don't have to bomb Iran, kidnap Venezuela, and threaten the rest of the world because of oil.
And they are developing those alternative method aggressively now.
But those who are profiting from the oil system don't want an alternative. The oil companies will kill, will die to maintain this system.
Well, let me do a segue, Prof. And I want to talk about one particular NGO. And I wonder, I mean, this NGO, I'm sure by the time I land, you all know what NGO is. And my question is, what role will that NGO play when it comes to intelligently engaging with governmental system, structure, and process? Particularly, I'll take Nigeria as a case study. It does not mean it's limited to Nigeria, but and that NGO obviously is what we call church, because it's an NGO. It's a non-government organization, you know.
Yes.
So, what role?
You are touching us now.
Well, I might as well. What role? Well, now, obviously, if you decline to answer, I will respect you. I will say that. But because I think I don't want to answer, I don't want to ask that question as a rhetoric question because I can say the judge can simply say, no, 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 our business has nothing to do with our politics. You know, we are flying away. But I will have accepted that, except that people in church complain so much about government. So if you complain about something, then you are either putting your money where your mouth is, or you can just keep quiet. So if the church will not keep quiet and truly intelligently, and I'm using that word intelligently engage, rather than complaining, rather than using altars and preaching platform as a protest ground to just complain, because that I don't think that makes sense, right? That doesn't make any sense to me. You should not be complaining if you are never involved, if you are not engaging. So how can this NGO engage intelligently, reasonably?
It's very very interesting. I mean, I'm a pastor myself. So
we can't hear you again, Kunle.
Sorry?
I said we can't hear Kunle again, and I know
I've asked my question.
Okay, I'm a pastor myself. And I think Dr. Osineye is more qualified than me to talk about the role of the church in society. However, I'll give it a shot.
Three of us, luckily, we're all pastors as well. Well, I will give my own thing about you.
Yeah. So I think if you talk about Africa or even globally, the church is part of the problem.
Yeah, it is.
Religion is part of the problem. And now I'm going to use Jesus as an example. You know, Jesus never had problem with poor people. He never had problem with the masses. He went about doing good, healing all the oppressed of the devil. He never condemned. You are caught in adultery, you are set free. You are convicted, hanging on the cross to die. Tonight you'll be with my Father. Don't even need to ask for forgiveness. His mission was liberation. However, all religion, including Christianity, the message is captivity. The message is judgment. The message is denomination. The message is abide by our rules and our procedures.
Or you get excommunicated.
Or you get pushed out. That's why those who killed Jesus are the high priest, the Sanhedrin, in collaboration with the Romans, who are the political powers. So the Jews and the Europeans, I always like that. The Romans and the Europeans. Africans, we didn't do anything wrong. We didn't do anything wrong.
We've always been innocent.
We were the one who even saved Jesus in the first.
He came to Africa.
He came to Africa.
I think there's a special place in the heart of God for Africa because we were there.
We have always preserved.
We rescued Jesus.
We've always preserved posterity.
So the religious class and the political class are very similar in that both classes exploit the public. And what they killed Jesus for is anti-establishment, non-conformist message. How dare you insult Moses? How dare you talk about
that wants to disrupt the structure?
Yeah, who are you to go into the temple to stop people from buying and selling? Son of God, what are you saying? God is the Father? What?
There is no place for this certain servant leader. There is no space.
You don't have a place here. We will use legal, legislative, political means to shut you down and get you out. And the same thing is happening today in society. I'm not talking about Christianity alone, Islam, Buddhism, all kinds of religion. It's all about condemnation, rules, disobedience, punishment, judgment, to the point that there's a collabo between these two institutions to milk the public. Jesus said, you shall know the truth, not you shall know the church, or you shall know religion, and the truth you know shall set you free. But that truth is highly guarded, highly watched, heavily attacked. The greatest warfare is the information warfare. To bury the truth, to hide the truth, to keep the truth from people. Because once people know the truth, they become liberated.
Yeah.
Like, it was when I left Nigeria that I even got to know more about the Civil War. While in Nigeria, the nitty-gritty of the war, you are not told. The economic dimension, you know, the killing, the mass killing of Easterners by the Nigerian forces, the support of the West, the oil factor in the war, nobody talks about it. Why they would not be allowed to succeed? Because they wanted to take the Niger Delta with them, where the oil is. No way. But we know we fought. We know we won. We know there's a Nigeria. So the truth, which is take away democracy, take away politics, what is of interest to people is heavily guarded, heavily padlocked. It's individuals that know, that share. And those who know, you are highly targeted. I'll give you an example. Like, why is Europe as a continent, why are we fighting against Russia? Makes no sense. Russia has got the resources, the gas, the oil, the natural resources that the rest of Europe needs to develop. Germany used to be number 3 in the world, industrial power, and they were getting gas and oil from Russia. But at some point, this link was cut off. Now, Germany now has to buy oil from the US, gas from the US, at a more expensive cost. The same for the rest of Europe. So we are paying more for electricity and for gas. Why? Because we don't want to buy from Russia. Russia has what we need. We have what they need. When we come together, we all thrive. But the West don't want that. The West don't want cooperation with the rest, with Iraq, with Asia, with Africa. They don't want cooperation. They want domination. They want to keep this system of we are the controllers of the world. That's why I said this DEI, diversity, equality, and inclusion is useless. It makes sense. Because you are showing up at the top that you rule the world. And then you now want me to go to the office and now start fighting with my white colleague. And then I'll say I'm using DEI policy. Tomorrow I'm out of that job. But the few people that go forward to say this, they are attacked, they are discredited, sometimes they are killed. Why? Because you are going against the system. You are going against the norm. You are going against, I'm paying more for my electricity. Not because I use more, but because some people at the top there think that the way forward is to fight. You know, you look at Ukraine and the thousands, probably millions of people that have died. And you ask yourself, what is this war for? There was a Minsk agreement in 2014. Ukraine is a neutral country. Russia will not get into Ukraine to come to the West. The West will not come into Ukraine to get to Russia. But all of a sudden, the West started supplying weapons, supplying supplies, giving Ukraine, trying to take over Ukraine. to the point that Putin said, let's obey this agreement. Let's stay on your side. We stay on our side. But in the Western worldview, those in power, it's about control, about domination. There's no cooperation. Do you know that as we are as a people, we can collectively eliminate poverty across the world? We have the power, we have the means, we have the technology, we have the ability to stop hunger, that nobody, no nation, nowhere should go hungry. Africa, you've got the resources. Give us the resources. We'll give you the technology or give you idea. A world of togetherness. But the world powers, and that's why that word system, that word power. And as a pastor, I can trace it back to Genesis. I can trace it back to Genesis. That this is the system of Satan. Not cooperation, but domination. Not togetherness, but hierarchy. And that system has always been, I said to myself, Victor, the reason Africa is where it is the system, is the economic system.
Yeah.
It's not because we have bad people that can't lead. It's not because we can't industrialize. It's not because we are not intelligent or our education is bad or we can't function as a society or we are barbaric. But there's an economic warfare on us. That economic warfare is affecting our industries, it's affecting our politics, affecting our education, making us redundant, inactive. Why? Because the system functions when we only do raw materials and we only consume foreign products. We can't clothe ourselves, we can't feed ourselves, we can't run our system, we have to run to Europe. Even our government, they take instruction from Western government. It's a system of domination, dependence. And that's how that system has worked for so long. And the very few countries that are breaking away from it have survived, like China and the rest of them. Years of resistance, years of resilience. And we are saying to Africans that we should look at China and those places as a template for our development. We can't look at the West. You can't look at your enemy, economic enemy, like a small business, and you're not looking at a big business and thinking that the big business will not let you become as big as they are so that you can be in the same space. No, they will choke you. They will strangulate you. But systems that have kind of built resistance and try to identify their unique selling point are the systems that we have to follow. But, once your political system is captured, there's this economic theory, state capture. Once your political system is captured, it's a big fight. It's
a big fight. You
fight.
almost stand no chance. Absolutely.
It's a big fight. Like in the past, when the missionaries get to a place, they try as much as possible to convert the king or convert the important people in the town. And then the rest is easy to convert. That capture from the top to the bottom is easy. But what we are saying is a movement from the bottom to the top. It doesn't have to be violent. And I take on board and I appreciate the place of the private individuals, entrepreneurs. We did a magazine recently and we put up Dangote there, Yeah. As a Christian magazine, that's a contradiction.
It's a contradiction indeed.
What has Dangote got to do in a Christian magazine? Well, I said to myself, put religion aside.
Absolutely.
Take religion out of the way.
Which was why I actually liked that magazine. I like that edition because
take religion out of the way. Religion, if you're not careful, it will imprison your mind. You will see them as enemies.
Absolutely.
Religion is all about we against them. Our church is better than their church. Our doctrine is better than their doctrine.
It's a system of segregation, of sectarianism.
When did Jesus preach religion? At what point? Where did he get to ever that he said, "Oh, you don't belong to our church, or you don't belong to our denomination, you belong to our religion? Okay, let's do it." It's not about
BBJ. Interestingly, there's a statement Jesus made which I believe most religious people don't like, and they will hardly ever quote. Jesus said, "Other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also must I bring, so that you just have one flock, one fold,
One
one
shepherd.
shepherd."
You know, I was able to figure something out. Maybe Holy Spirit revealed it to me. And Jesus is not a Christian
No,
because it was after I left that the concept of Christianity came.
Yeah.
Christianity is designed around Jesus, but Jesus is not a Christian.
yes,
God is not a Christian.
no,
So I began asking myself, you know, they say Jesus is, you know, the picture of Jesus we have for a long time was like a white guy, long hair, blue eye, European, but we know Jesus is not European. So
yeah,
there's a lot of controversy. So I realized that Jesus himself always talked about the word, the word, the word. So I went to ChatGPT. Who is Jesus? So aside from the physical description, they say these are the core messages of Jesus: forgiveness, mercy, freedom, peace,
truth,
truth, righteousness,
Justice.
justice.
Mm.
So your religion, quote unquote, is not as important. Your tag is not as important as when you do these things.
and if I may, VJ, everything you mentioned has to do with government. Everything, all those factors you mentioned have to do with government, which is why domination is not the same as dominion. You see, it's a corruption of that idea.
System. Mm.
That's the word system, interestingly, is also the word for world. It's also the word in Greek which means cosmos. And this is the heart of the matter, that dominion, which is the word, same word for government, is a word that is common to all Adam, every human. It's a property, characteristic of every human. Whereas the word domination sets one above the other. And you can already see that corruption. So the very basis of domination comes from a corruption of a perfect idea, which is government.
So I began asking myself, who is a Christian? The guy that goes to church every Sunday, but doesn't forgive, is not righteous, stealing from government. Is that a Jesus follower? So as I said to myself, am I actually a Christian? Because Christianity is not a title.
No.
Jesus said, you shall know them by their action. They saw the behavior of a certain group of people.
Yes.
And then they say, these guys are Christians.
Yes.
But today, I ask myself, do I even qualify? There are some people who don't come to church who are more Christ-like
Yes.
than church people. Church people, religious people that will kill. They don't care about Gaza. They don't care about the killing of other human beings.
Yes.
To them, it's about Jews, and then they are non-Jews, and then they have the right to defend themselves.
I like this line of thought, but I ask a question. So
Religion is dangerous.
you know there are documentaries you watch. You
Yeah.
see people who go into the wild and they go and take rhino, lion, and they actually play with them. And I ask myself, who is the one obeying? Let them have government or dominion over fish of the sea, birds of the air, beasts of the field. Is it that one guy who has never been to church, or the one who is in church but sees lion and runs away or wants to shoot him? Honestly, the most important thing that can happen to a human being is the freedom from a religious mind.
Religion is dangerous.
That's when life actually.
Victor, I know you sent an article to me. Was it last week or this week? Actually, before you sent that particular article, I actually read it on Facebook too. So
Okay.
which was very, very, it was a very interesting article, which is talking about the role of Pentecostalism and for me, I'm very objective in the way I see things. Many of the things we see that people believe are corruption of Pentecostalism today, I believe personally that they are mostly unintended. It wasn't as if it was planned out to be so. They were just unintended consequences. But where I have a problem, which I stated in my response to you, was that the problem is not we identifying this problem now. We can all see. I know some people are still pretending as if it's not, everything is all good. You know, I've been in the Pentecostal space for a while before I went back to Anglicanism. And I wouldn't say I left Pentecostalism because it was bad as at the time I left. It wasn't because it was bad. That was the truth. It was just that I knew it was God moving me from that space.
A different space.
I was going. It was a move I needed to make at that time. That wasn't, in fact, I had to resist the movement, but I had to also obey what I believe was the best decision for my life. And I really thank God. It happened to be one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Now, the problem I have now is that some people, whether they are not seeing things as it is and they are not ready to make adjustments, but the problem I have now is people now defending those unintended consequences that we can see that is now becoming a public insult or a public eyesore, and we are still defending it. We are still
this be a bit more.
We're even repackaging it to even look more classy, more elegant, and then because I see now, when people want to celebrate, they want the president to be there, they want the governor to be there, they want to take pictures with them, as if that is what validates the ministry. And this is what I believe we are also trying to say about how politics and religion, particularly organized religion, play a role in corrupting our system. For me, I have come to understand that religion does not even have to be organized the way it is today. Though it is very good, but it doesn't have to be organized the way it is today for the will of God to perpetuate itself. Yeah. For 300 to almost 400 years, Christianity was mainly underground, and it thrived. It thrived. It thrived. So it was during the reign of Emperor Constantine, that Christianity became an established religion. Prior to Constantine, Christianity was basically an underground church. And that was, you can see the same thing happen in China. During the Cultural Revolution, that people were not allowed to practice their faith, there were underground churches that thrived, that people were in their millions who actually believe in Jesus Christ. So to believe that Christianity has to be this elegant, has to be very organized, we have to have bishops, we have to have archbishops, we have to have leaders, we have to have things to make it look fancy. That doesn't make it original. Though it could be good to some point, but when it's now becoming a problem, I think we need to rethink how it is being organized and the role it is supposed to play in the society. And I think that is where we need to make some adjustment. And I told you that was what informed me to start School of Transformational Leadership, to start as Africana Leadership Digest, because for a long time, it has bothered me how we have concentrated the activity of Christianity we have limited it into the four walls of the church. But that was not what Jesus did. The Bible said he went about. He went about. He didn't concentrate himself in the temple. It was only occasionally that he was going to the temple. Most of his ministry were done outside the four walls of the temple.
And if I may, if there was anything he said on his departure, he said, go into all the systems.
All the systems.
Meaning
And this is what people are not ready to confront. And that is
meaning that if somebody's going to be a real good pastor,
yeah, you have to go into the system.
It needs to be either in
a servant leader.
Yeah.
He has to be in the banking hall,
yeah,
or in the defense, meaning he has to be probably in the police, carry his gun as well. Now I'm using that to disorientate religious thinking. How would you expect a pastor to carry his police giving gun and his pastor in there? I know that's a total disorientation. Or to be in the military and carry his whatever it is. So that is the challenge. Yeah. Can you actually go into the world? Go into the world or something. It didn't say go into every country.
Yeah.
Go into all the world. The systems.
And whether we like it or not, the current dispensation is going to force us to go back into that earlier form of Christianity.
I think so.
And BBJ, the question I asked, and I said that I didn't want to be a rhetorical question. and this is where I'm going with all that question, is this. If the people that have been instructed to go into the systems, to educate those systems, if they haven't gone as instructed, is that part of the reason, or perhaps the key reason, why those systems have been hijacked and not functioning as they ought to?
Yeah, it could be part of the reason. There is no doubt about that, because we are not doing what we are supposed to do as a church.
Yes. And the reason why I say that is, I ask that question is because of the parable of the wheat and the tares.
Yeah.
They all compete for space.
Yeah.
So if the wheat is not planted in the ground space, the tares have more room to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
So my challenge, or my question, or my offer for consideration is the problem of the system really the abdication of those who are meant to?
You know what the church is doing? The church is trying to run away from the system. That is the challenge. The church is running away from the system.
But the church in US is married to the system now. There's this Christian nationalist in the US.
Yeah. You know,
and like you rightly said,
even some of my most revered, I would say, mentor, because they've really mentored me. Sometimes I'm disappointed to see the way things are done, because it really breaks my heart. Because
I had a pastor, American, I don't know who the name is, and he was saying that God owns all the oil. I mean, crude oil. And God will not want bad people to control his crude oil. So Trump has done the right thing to take Venezuela's oil from the hands of bad people into the hands of good people.
So who are the good people?
It's just
and what's the criteria of goodness?
But that doesn't mean they don't still have a place in my heart. I know we all make mistakes in life.
Yeah,
these are just some of the challenges, some of the problems that we are facing, we are battling.
Nigeria too is not too far away. There's like rightly said, governor has to be there. This marriage between politics and religion keeps people down and out. Yeah, just keep praying about your situation. Keep praying for the country while we keep looting the
opium of the people.
Yeah, don't ask.
And I like the word you use, this marriage.
Yeah.
Because it's an alliance with intent.
Yeah.
That intent is not necessarily for the good of. So I actually like the word married as you use, and I will say a kind of alliance. It's almost like saying, let's work together for this end.
Yeah.
Just like back in the day, religion worked together with the government of the day to destroy Jesus and all of his followers.
Yeah.
And it's not a new thing.
And when I hear Jesus now, what I hear is the word, not the person.
Yes.
The word. So what you just said is both religion and politics are killing the truth that will set people free.
Interestingly, maybe I should throw this in, and maybe it'll be one of my final comments on this. Do you realize that right upon the resurrection of Jesus, that alliance came together again and said, this truth must not go out.
Yeah, they gave them some money.
They bribed
soldiers.
the marriage again.
The religious leader.
Yes, the religious leader bribed the political leaders and said, "Let us use their weapon of choice was the media.
Yeah.
Let us engage the media and say this was
this hoax. It's a lie.
It's a hoax. It's fake news.
Correct.
And should any trouble come, we'll take care of it. So you can see that this corruption has been long. It's not.
Things have not changed.
It hasn't changed.
Things have not changed, and my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Not because there is no resources, not because God has not blessed us, but my people are destroyed because they don't. And Jesus said, "Woe unto you, Pharisees and scribes! You hold the key of knowledge."
The key of knowledge. In fact, you shut it down. You shut the gate.
You will not go in yourself, and you don't even allow other people to come in.
Which means
if you start saying some things on social media, they will deplatform you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If you start saying the truth about, why is this happening? What's this for? This is evidence for this. Because poverty, like someone said, multiplies in silence, in ignorance.
Yes.
In poor communities, nobody's talking about ideas. Nobody's talking about innovation. They're fighting each other. They hate each other. Nobody talks about their money problems.
Yeah.
Like, don't let anybody know. But in rich communities, it's all conversation. It's not knowledge. It's all sharing.
Yeah.
So to keep people out, keep people down, keep them in the dark.
Yeah, we'll take away the key of knowledge.
Bring up programs, entertainment that will keep them busy, just like, but they still wallow in.
You know that word entertainment is the same word for amusement. And the word muse means to think. Amuse means prevent from thinking. So to keep people down, just don't make them think. There should not be an exchange of ideas, because otherwise they will think. And if they think, they might just get liberated.
Yeah, one of the things that have fascinated me a lot recently is this growing number of very few people across Africa who follow a certain pattern and become successful. They're not into politics. They don't have a lot of education. They're not stealing. And this idea of entrepreneurship, like, find out what you can do. Go train yourself to do it. A few shoemakers, men, women, go train yourself, start local production, because there is abundance need across the continent in every field.
Yeah.
Need for more schools, need for food, need for customer service, need for IT, need for transportation, need for roads. And rather than become like Victor, who has run abroad, they've looked at the society, developed certain small skills, and they're scaling it up.
And they say this market is huge enough.
The market is massive. They're not waiting for Western intervention.
No.
But I speak to a lot of Africans They want to travel out. They're looking for a white-collar job.
Mm.
They're not looking inward. What can I do?
Mm.
What ideas do I have?
Mm.
They're begging for money all the time. Please send me money, send me money.
Mm.
And wow. So the truth is not like, do not go to heaven and ask who is going to bring, or do not send to the deep.
Or go to the hell to bring it up.
The truth is 9D.
It's right there. It's right
there.
Yeah.
So at the individual level, because if you keep on looking up to politics for a change, it may not happen because you are fighting the world system.
That's right.
But at the individual level, there's hope.
And that's why when I look at servant leadership, the whole tenet of servant leadership is not really about a system of control or what's that word? Popularity. No, it's actually the development of the individual to model an ideal so that it becomes organic growth and development. So the system we have in our world will never, and I'm almost going to say, it's almost, I think I would probably go as far as say, will never allow the emergence of a servant leader at that sort of.
At the highest level.
No.
They killed Jesus.
But servant leaders must become, those what that, when you break mercury, it drops, it splinters. So you see a lot of it. The servant leadership development is actually an organic, it's a ground level thing.
Yeah, it's a grassroots system.
It's a grassroots system.
Miles Monroe said one time that a bad society is made up of bad individuals. And a good society is made up of good. So let's not focus on the society. Let's focus on the individuals.
Yes.
But when the population of good increases, the society will become good. I think it ties with what you are saying, that if at the individual level, I'm able to do well and I'm able to inspire my neighbor is able to inspire another person, and it begins to spread. Before long, the system itself will spread.
Yeah. That was why the Roman government could not destroy these people, in spite of all the persecution, because the more they attacked them, the more they grew, the more they became entrenched in that way. And with time, they'll say, let us try and co-opt them and put an organization around them. Let's try and put them in the box so that we can control them.
Yeah. So I think the focus, which is what I've kind of shifted my attention to more in the last 1 year, 2 years, about the individual level. Because the global level or the national level is very difficult to influence. Because there's a set way. But even at the individual level,
we really need to focus on one individual at a time.
Individual too is very difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Yeah, you're right.
Because
personally, I have my personal struggles. As much as I desire
mindset,
personal transformation, it's a lot of struggle.
Put it this way: God was able to take the Israelites out of Egypt, but God found it so difficult to get Egypt out of their minds. As a matter of fact, God had to kill well over 99% of them. It was only 2 of them generationally. Only two made it across. So if we are to count success statistically, would you say God was successful in that exercise? I would say not. But God measures success in a different way.
In different ways.
All of these people, none of them. In fact, God said, I am swearing to you on my integrity, you will not get across to that land.
Mentality is a very, very difficult thing to get rid of. Once you are enmeshed in once you are locked up in a particular way of viewing things, it can be very, very difficult to get rid of.
Let me even underscore how serious this was. Even Moses did not make it across.
So I think himself.
Is it 3 months ago? I was having some situation, and the Holy Spirit said to me that it's all in your mind.
Mm.
Possibilities and impossibilities.
Mm.
Progress or regression.
Mm.
Yeah.
Health or sickness. It's all in your mind.
All in the mind.
All in your mind. So
All.
what that
Entirely.
did was I began to de-emphasize external.
Mm.
I started kind of reassessing the internal
Mm.
and reevaluating my thinking,
Mm.
my belief system.
Mm.
You know, who are my friends? What is the criteria for friendship?
Mm.
Like people like Dangote and a lot of things,
Mm.
religion, denomination, and all of that stuff. And I'm still kind of in the process because sometimes I will do things and that word will come back. It's all in your mind.
Mm.
Who likes you, who doesn't like, it's all in your mind.
You are deconstructing and reconstructing.
If the change, if the change happens here,
Yeah.
like I remember Bishop would say it that you can't win or you can't lose internally and win externally. So the focus, because devil did not do anything. All he did was to put a thought in the mind of Eve.
That's it.
You know, someone said it recently that the devil does nothing.
Yeah.
The devil does not do anything. All he does today,
Manipulates your thinking.
the thinking, is that we humans are the ones that carry out the evil. We are the ones that shoot, that kill. The person said that, have you ever seen a bridge, a plane that crashed because of the devil?
No.
Or a bridge collapsed because of the devil. That devil now became powerful. Now went to Third Mainland Bridge or went to a church and now push it down.
Because considering how wicked we claim he is, he should be doing that all the time.
But the Bible says the heart of man is
It's
desperately
desperately wicked.
wicked.
Yes.
Just money. So once anything gets here, oh God, especially if it's the wrong thing.
Yeah.
That's why even if you're trying to help people, I've had people say to me, "Ẹni kò send owó sí wa, ó ń bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ pé kí ni a fẹ́ ṣe." Just send money, forget about anything.
Forget the vision.
Yeah. I'm talking to you about how to fish, how to become a fisherman so that you can be independent. But in their mindset, just
give it
You
to
say,
me.
Oga
Give
Lee
it,
story.
and let it go my way.
Oga Lee story.
Sorry, I give you the fee.
It's not easy. It's not easy, but like I said, maybe when you have more results and more testimony, then it becomes easier and the message becomes
Well, do you know, BBJ, even at that, what I found out is this: when people interact with prominent people, more often than not, they become enamored by the personality of the prominent person, not necessarily change their minds. They still maintain their mind. They're just enamored by that mind and start to look at the outcomes and not the process.
True. That's true.
So I can guarantee you, that's why most people who are very rich and wealthy never have true friends. The biggest need they have is trust issues. They have serious trust issues because they know all the people around them are just there for what they can get, not because they are truly interested in them. And it's because you almost can't be successful at getting people to change their mindset.
It's the most important part of our body, like someone said. Like, some people are today waking up thinking of how to kill Gazans because of their mindset.
Yes.
Fellow human beings, babies, children, rejoice, do selfie. We just killed the president to come up and say we just eliminated. I think the only president in the world that delights in just announcing the death of people is Netanyahu. And I look at him and the Jewish people, sometimes with sympathy, that your mindset is so corrupted about possessing a land to the point that you don't care about fellow human beings. You call them dogs, animals, just because of religion and the land. Where
That
is
was
your
why Jesus was never popular. Because when Jesus said, that Samaritan is you, they said, what do you mean?
what?
This thing is for us, exclusivity. This is exclusive to us. What do you mean that person love your neighbor? Say, no, 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 no. This person is going to destroy our culture, the way we think. Get him out of here. That it was as serious as that. This man is going to
Hierarchical
spoil things.
system, that hierarchy,
Yeah.
that class distinction. Whereas
Exclusivity, caste system.
Paul said, the same God
Yeah.
is rich unto all. How many people did China kill to win the global dominance battle? No one. Like I said to myself, I said, America has forgotten how to lead the world. They used to lead the world with
China is
innovation.
silently leading.
They used to lead with innovation, with technology, with inventions, with like, you know that when the Americans show up, man, they're going to come up with the best of the best. And people follow the best. You don't have to force people to follow.
You know,
But now it's like a system of grab and take and possess and bomb. You know, when you are so used to the wrong way of doing things, you forget how to do it the right way.
BBJ, you know, Kunle and I made a podcast last month on how idea rules the world. And one of the things we said, Kunle, if you remember, was that China don't really care about creating things or innovating things or
In the past.
inventing things. Even now, we can still say that America still has an edge, but where China is more dominant is in perfecting the process, the distribution channel, the distribution chain of that idea, or even making it cheaper, more affordable for people. That is where the strength of China is now. America is free to invent anything, but in a couple of years, China are going to dominate that idea. They're going to completely dominate it. They are going to own it as if they are the one who invented it in the first place.
Yeah.
Look at the electric vehicle that Elon Musk started. China has dominated the space.
Yeah.
Under how many years?
Yeah,
they've
but
adopted it, they've taken over the system, they perfected it.
But you know what I think, and I could be wrong or naive in my thinking. I think the creativity of the West and the ability of the West, Western Europe, Canada, and the United States, is being held back by racism, classism, witch hunting. Because what America thrived at was liberty. We don't care where you come from. We don't care who you are.
Yeah.
All we care about is what you have to contribute. So don't look at what America is going to do for you. Like one president said, look for what you're going to do for America. But in the current climate, political climate, racial climate, where there's a lot of witch hunting, location, building the border. Like I said, America is forgetting how to lead, how to be creative, how to be innovative. The ability of Westerners is being restrained because diversity is being challenged, equality is being challenged, inclusion is being challenged. There's a lot of...
I think what we have now, DVJ and Segun, I think is probably symptomatic of a particular cycle in the lifespan of empires.
Yes, I agree.
So people lash out when they're losing control.
I agree.
So it might just be that is where that cycle of domination.
And
Yes.
when Roman Empire started to fall by implosion, not by any external
Yes,
aggression,
that's so true.
by implosion, it took nearly 1,000 years for the complete collapse to take place.
So true. I remember when King Charles went to the United States recently, and I think it was like a conversation between a declined empire and a declining empire. And the king was very rhetorical, very clever in the way he was talking to Trump. Of course, Trump will not get most of it, but it was more of, we used to be where you are. But sooner than later, we might be at the same stage or same place. I think one of the popular ones was that it was the Americans that stopped the British from speaking French, from speaking German, that the Germans will have overrun the UK. And then the king said, well, it was the British.
We stop you from speaking French.
Yeah, you're right. When an empire becomes too comfortable, and then they forget the basics of inclusion, rule of law, discipline. Look at the American military. Recently, a lot of big people have retired, have been forced to retire. Some have been sacked. They've gone with the experience. Now you have yes men there who probably don't understand the nitty-gritty. You have a Secretary of Defense or War Secretary, whatever he calls himself, who's never been to any real combat and trying to sound very tough and strong, who has never lost men in the battlefield or lost his best mate or almost got shot. So he's a theoretical leader without empathy. And that's typical. I think the Oyo Empire too collapsed under similar circumstances.
We've seen this script before. We've seen it before.
Afonja in Ilorin.
History is well documented.
Afonja was disrespected. He was humiliated back home. He was not given the respect he wanted. And he looked around and said, well, I can call the Fulanese and together we can carve an empire for myself. The honor I was not given back home in Oyo, the respect I was supposed to be given, holding forth this part of the kingdom, confronting Islamic invasion and aggression. But yet, at home, I'm just treated like anybody, nobody. It was like, okay, I know what to do. He allied with them, and then they cut off Ilorin from Yoruba land. And even to date, to date, although they speak Yoruba, is like culturally
they are categorized as northern part of Nigeria.
Part of the north. And it was because that empire too got to a point that they became too comfortable, too relaxed, and it's interesting to see. But back to our continent, I'm hoping that more awareness, more information. Those who will be saved will be saved. Those who will not be saved.
That is honestly, I thought I was the only one thinking that way, BJ. But then I heard Jesus who said many times, said there were many lepers in Israel, but unto none was Elisha sent except to Naaman. It was. Sometimes I look at the man of Jesus and I'm thinking, I don't think I understand this man yet.
This guy is so deep. This guy is so deep. This guy is so deep.
And I'm thinking, you say, well, there are many widows in Israel, but we only had we only had our attention, our eyes on just one of them.
My number one prayer recently is that Jesus, reveal yourself to me more, teach me more, because of course you have to become religious, and then after being religious, then you become a believer or a follower of Christ. That a time is going to come in your life that you're going to push back on doctrinal, religious stuff, and then try to embrace Jesus himself.
I call that holy doubt.
And
You're going to
And
question everything that you've been told.
the more I embrace Jesus as the word and what he stands for, the
You
less
know,
anxious I am about other religion, less anxious I am about other people, less hierarchical, less classist, less
Less
intimidated,
threatened you are.
threatened. And then I become a bit more humble that it's not going to church that makes me better than them. It's not carrying the emblem of a Christian that makes me better than them. Am I actually doing what Jesus stands for? Am I merciful? Am I kind? Am I forgiving? Do I relate with people? Am I a light that shines in darkness? Not that you are wearing trousers in your denomination and wearing scarf, or I have a church, and I'm beginning to even question that am I even qualified to be a Christian? Do people see me
Mhm.
and say,
Because you cannot say, you say, the most hypocritical thing to say is to say, I'm a Christian. You are not the one to say that. Other people have to say that about you.
that's
If you say that about yourself, you are absolutely a hypocrite.
and and
that
and
title, we should qualify it before we are called that title. I'm
and
going to church without qualification. It's behavior.
No, no. Somebody has to say, I think you're a Christian. You cannot say, I'm a Christian. It,
So
it does not make any sense.
rather than think I'm better than, now I become a bit more self-reflective and critical of, okay, will Jesus say that? Will Jesus do that? What's my motive? At home, with my wife, with my kids, in the church. Why am I doing that? What am I doing this for? And in the process, I'm beginning to kind of not judge people based on their church or their religion or their color, but see people in the light of the word. That are
Yes.
they doing the word? That's why I said recently that, do you know, Victor, there's some people that will make heaven that don't go to church.
It sounds like, what you're saying, I think is an epiphany, so because it's happening to me, like you're saying too. Because sometimes you would have to sit back and say, that's what I mean by, I call it almost like a holy doubt. That's where I use, so because you begin to now say, wait a minute, I have to rethink everything that I thought I knew. And then you have to open the Bible again, and you come at it like you have never opened before, because you have to embrace it afresh, like as if you've never handled it before.
For
And
yourself.
it's because all of those preconceptions, those layers that have been built, that were built there without thinking, you are now consciously thinking about them and say, this block, is it really a block that should be there? Or does it need to be removed? And
Hmm.
some of them you remove, some of them you're allowed to, okay, I think that I'm not sure yet.
One,
But
one, one pastor, he said something that I kind of reflected on for a long time. He said, did you eat the fruit in the Garden of Eden? Were you there? Did you partake of it?
yeah,
I said, no. It wasn't talking to me, it was preaching.
yes.
But his point was that we are so conscious of the Adamic nature. We are so conscious of sin, of error, of mistake. We are so conscious that we are not holy, we are not perfect. This body is vain, my leg is that we are not conscious of the redemptive work of Christ. That even though we are believers, we are Christians, we are still asking for forgiveness every time. We are still thinking that we are unworthy. Not that we have to be perfect as believers, but that consciousness of sin is so heavy on us. Condemnation. I'm not good enough. I'm so suffering from what I did. Nigeria is bad. Nothing's working for me. My life is difficult. He said all of that is coming from this iniquity, Adamic consciousness. Not that we are that bad,
Mm-hmm.
but the consciousness has been ingrained in us that we
Yeah.
don't see ourselves as justified. We don't see the blood of Jesus. And he used one scripture to even silence this discussion. He said, when the prodigal son was out of his father's house, he said to himself, wow, I've messed up. I will go back to my father's house. When I get to my father's house, I will tell him, please, I'm not even your son. Just employ me like a worker, unworthy, unfit. He said, as soon as he got towards home, he never had a chance to say what to the dad.
Yes.
He said that simply means that God doesn't need that much asking for forgiveness, this mentality of please. He said, the minute we say, oh, I made a mistake,
He already understands.
God has accepted us. But Lord, all the sins I've committed, our consciousness of sin, and he said it's been ingrained in us by religion. So when we make mistakes, we don't like move on. We don't like, oh yeah, okay, next time. All right, it's working. But we always like, and that keeps us down. Business is not working today, maybe what I did last year, I've had people say, the sins I committed before I gave my life to Christ,
we are trying to be religiously perfect when God is just saying, I need you to come and to govern the earth. Earth need to
there is now therefore no condemnation, to them that are in Christ Jesus. Not that they are perfect.
No.
But it didn't come for the perfect. It came for those who keep trying.
Yes.
So
it says
this mindset.
Yes. The objective is the earth needs to be looked after. Get back to work. Imagine if you have an employee, the person missed, he did something wrong yesterday, maybe missed a meeting, and then it came today. Okay, I'm sorry for yesterday. Yeah, he apologized yesterday, of course, but again, he came to and say, I'm very sorry for missing that meeting yesterday. He said, no, okay, we've had enough of that. Get on with work. Just get back to work. That's what I'm going to say to the
person. Father, I kissed somebody. Get to work, boy. Forget about yesterday.
Get back to work. Okay. I've had enough of that. Get back to work.
And the guy gave an example, very similar, as if you were listening to him. He said, as a child, you made mistakes at your parents' house. You broke plates. You damaged some stuff. But you went away after several years. Now you're a doctor, or you're a professor, or you have become something. And then you now come back to your dad's house. And I said, Dad, remember when I was a child, I broke a plate. I'm sorry. When I was a child, I destroyed the TV. I'm sorry. Wouldn't I say, what the hell?
What else have you destroyed?
I only heard what I'm saying to you yesterday. When I heard it, I sat down. I said, I've been a Christian now for a few days. This had never clicked in my understanding of God and how we should operate in Him. And even my prayers started changing from God, come and do it. My prayer now, from yesterday, that God, I command, I decree, I prophesy. He said, Son of man, prophesy upon this. I asked myself, when was the last time I prophesied? Because I feel maybe that happens in the church and prophets are within their right to do that. I realize that there's too much liberty, so much freedom that we have as believers. But
absolutely,
God will continue to kind of reveal, Jesus will continue to reveal himself more. More Jesus, less church.
Yes.
More liberty, more freedom.
Yes.
Well, I know our time is fast spent. Just to give the final word, despite all the imperfections of the church, Jesus, still in the imperfection,
yes,
still maintained some of his activities within the church.
Yes.
Even though he never joined them, but occasionally he participated with them. He preached in the temple with them. He preached in the synagogue with them, even though he was never part of them.
Yes.
So what this means to me, or what this is telling me, is that despite all the errors and the abnormalities that we see within the church, God still needs the church to carry out some of his purposes here on earth.
Sorry, sir, if I may interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
With or without the church, the word is working.
Yeah, exactly.
The word has been from the beginning.
Yeah.
The word is.
Yeah.
And the word will be forever.
Yeah.
You know, somebody was asking a question. This is my final comment.
Yeah.
That what about people in remote places that have no church, that have not heard about Jesus, that died? Would they go to heaven or hell? But the word is, you can't cage the word in the church. The word is not limited to the church. God has been speaking to people before the Bible was written.
Yeah.
God has been speaking for people from the beginning. And he's still speaking. He's still speaking.
Absolutely.
To people. Whether they hear about church, they go to church, and they don't go to. There are people who have died, but who never did anything wrong, who died on the truth. So God is working. The church is working. The church is working, but the word is out there working. Nobody can stop the word.
No.
Nobody. Whether we preach or we don't preach, the word is going, because God's means of communication is not through man to man. Before they preached the gospel to us in Africa, before they brought the Bible to us in Africa, are they saying that God has not been speaking to us? No way.
Psalm 19 it says, there is no language, there is no place where your command has not gone to. It's gone through all the earth. I suspect that we have a wrong conception about the church. The church is far more than what we think it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Certainly more than what organization says it is. But
Yes.
that's a matter for another day.
Yeah, exactly. I think we should do this again soon. This is the most enjoyed conversation I've had in a long time.
So I want to thank you, Victor, for making yourself available
I want
for
to thank
this
you more.
wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
And I also want to thank Kunle. I know we've spent nearly almost 3 hours now engaged in this conversation. And I hope I can see a few reactions, people liking, loving the podcast, which shows that people are really benefiting from what we have discussed so far. I just hope we can continue to do this more and more, and continue to find engaging subject to talk about, if not regularly, but occasionally like this. We just come around and look at some of the issues that needs proper attention within our society, and engage ourselves and just have some intellectual engagement with them, and see maybe in our own little way we can provide some solutions to some of the nagging problem within the society.
Amen.
On this note, I also thank you, Victor.
Thank you so much.
This wonderful conversation.
Thanks,
I
bro.
also want to thank you. And to all our viewers, I want to say thank you for bearing with us.
Thanks, Shegun. Thanks so much. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you to both of you. We've known each other for a long time. And much more interesting is the relationship is becoming like a wine. The older we grow, the deeper we kind of connect. Although we are different countries right now, but the bonds, the similarities, the way we think, the unity of our thoughts is growing stronger, and more importantly, the spirituality has not diminished. And I bless God for having the two of you in my life.
No, thank you so much, bro. Thank you, Shegun, my friend. Thanks both. I'm still your best man. Don't forget.
All right. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Yeah.